Hello. In this lecture, we are going to start our assessment. As I told you at the beginning, there are three parts of an assessment. First is the planning phase, then the testing phase, and then the reporting phase. Now we are at the first day of our testing phase. Our goal right now is to get to know the application as good as possible. So what we are going to do is called application discovery. Usually, when we work with customers, we ask for an application walkthrough where the customer shows us how they use the application, or actually how the users use the application. But of course, if you don't have a walkthrough, it's still not a problem, just you have to do the whole discovery yourself. There are some key aspects what you want to find out during the discovery. First is how the application works, how the users use the application. What is the technology stack? So what kind of frameworks and technologies are in use? Are there different user roles or not? What inputs the application have? That's very important. How can the user send the data to the application? And of course, what's the loot? What is that what an attacker can steal? What can an attacker gain from the application? That's basically to find out the motivation of the attacker. In this lecture, I'm going to talk about the manual discovery. Um, in the next lecture, we are going to talk about the automated discovery, but I just want to put it out there right now that I don't really believe in scanners, so I think the manual discovery is much more important because that's where you really learn how the application works. So let's start. All right, so first start the Burp Suite. From now on, we are going to use the Burp Suite all the time. And because with that, we are basically recording each request what we send through the Burp Suite. And I also start the browser. All right, both are running. Let's make sure that the requests are sent through the burp. I will just load the example.com. Yes, it was intercepted. I can turn the intercept off. And then from here on, we see everything here in the proxy history. That's a little trick to change the ordering of the requests, because then you always see the newest on the top. Then let's go to the console of the virtual machine. On the console, you can see the URLs of the web applications we are going to test. The one we are going to work with right now is the Voice of the Emperor, and it's available on this URL. You need to check your console because the IP address might be different on your installation. Although we are talking about ethical hacking, but just for fun of it, we will search vulnerabilities in the applications of the Galactic Empire. So we are the part of the Rebel Intelligence, and other agents have already obtained credentials to this application. I will show you that when we get there.
It's spread throughout the galaxy in a vain effort to engage us. It is relatively unprotected.
But let's load the URL first, and then you will understand everything. So the URL was 92.168.203/VE for Voice of the Emperor. Oh yeah. Our intelligence also told us what this website is. This is a newly created official page for the Imperial Public Affairs, aka the propaganda. So let's look around. Our first task usually when we do a discovery is basically just to click the application through, see what's there. So there are some posts here. Oh, they are looking for hackers. At least now to protect our galaxy. Well, it's up to you. So there's recruitment, and yeah, this is the post. And oh yeah, there is a post about destroying the Alderaan. All right, let's go to the about page. Yeah, that tells us what this page is. Good. There's a search field here. Yeah, you can just get back to results. but it doesn't say which two. You can see here in burp, everything what we've done so far is listed here in the proxy history. We'll come to that later. Right, so that's not too much. It also says here that powered by Anchor and Barhope. We don't know what that is. Let's find out. For that, I quickly turn off the burp suite so that it doesn't collect when I browse other pages. Normally what I do in assessments is that I have a different browser, so like Google Chrome, what I use just for internet browsing, and I have a separate browser like Firefox to do the assessment with, because then I don't have to turn burp on and off all the time. But let's see what's this. Oh, it's the blog engine. So as you can see, it uses this blog engine called Anchor. It's open source. So it's basically a very simple content management system, CMS. And if you look, you can also already see here in the files that it uses PHP. And it's a very good thing that you have the source code, because whenever you have something you might think is attack, you can check in the source code why it doesn't work or why it works, etc. Scroll down in the requirements, you see that it uses PHP and MySQL. That are also really important things to know when you're actually doing exploitation. Then there was another thing here, this Barhope. Let's see. Oh yeah, basically this is a theme for the Anchor CMS. And it's also PHP. So basically the code of the web application is based together by the core Anchor CMS code, which is here, and the code of the theme. Of course, it's possible that the Imperial folks have changed the code so that it's not exactly the same as here on Git, but it's always a good thing to start with. And if we go back to the main Anchor website, then you can see there is a docs part, so let's check that out. As our good friend always says, read the freaking manual. So that's always a good thing to have documentations. We usually request the documentation from the customers, but if you don't have it, it absolutely makes sense to search the internet. Also, here in our case, we found direct link to the technologies which are used. But in some cases, you don't have a direct link, but you see it in the, I don't know, in the HTML code or in JavaScript or something that it uses some kind of technology. Then you need to Google it and you need to check it out what that is and how it works, because that's how you will understand how the application works. But if we go back to the docs, then there is an important part. It says there's an admin interface. Let's go here. And if you look here on the picture, it's hard to see, but it says it's under admin, and because it's about the post, that's under admin post. So let's see this admin interface, because that's something which we wouldn't have found otherwise. I will just close these and say admin. And yeah, we got to a login screen. As I said, our IntelliGen supported us with a login. The user is admin, and the password is long live the emperor in camel case. Note that there is also a forgotten password feature that can be also useful later on. Let's log in. We got in. I forgot to turn burp back on, so I'll just do it now. So this is the admin interface. We also learn here the exact version of the Anchor which is used. That can be important when you're looking for public vulnerabilities, because from the version you can see whether the page you are testing is affected or not. And then let's look around here. So you can create and edit posts. Yeah, there's log, description, status. You can add custom CSS and custom JS and something with the image. All right. You can also alter the existing posts. Then there are comments, but there are no comments yet on any of the posts, so it's empty. Then you can add new pages. There's the about page. Here are quite a few input fields, which will be interesting later. There are categories. You can also create new categories. There are users. As you can see, there are 2 users right now. One is the admin, for which we have the credentials, and there's another one called script admin. That sounds also interesting. We'll get back to that later. And you can create new users. Here you can see everything which a user needs. And here we see that there are 3 possible user roles: admin, editor, and user. Probably user is the one who cannot log in. And there's an extend where we can edit page types. Here are some input fields as well. You can create new custom fields. Variables, it's also interesting. You can set variables for the website. We don't know what all these things do right now, but it can be really useful in the future. Yeah, here you can set the theme. Plugins doesn't work yet. And of course, there is a logout, which brings us back to the main page. So as far as we could see, that's all what our application does. Let's go to the Burp Suite a little bit. I've already showed you that under the proxy history, it collects all the requests which were sent. Like, this is how we logged out. But there's also a better view. It's under target. This is the target module. And here you can see all the URLs or all the pages where requests were sent. And here under this domain is our web application. And you can see the same data what's here in the proxy, or basically the target collects all the data which was somehow collected through the application and structures it in this format, which can be really useful. Sometimes there are like lots of requests sent, so like your history is just spinning when you load a page, because you know when you log in there will be like 50 requests sent. It's really hard to track it. What when you come into here to the target, here you will have a really structured view of what happened, and you can just drill down and see what's here and there, which request was sent to the admin users, what was in the request, what was the response, etc. So it's a really practical view. Because if you understand, then you can try to find anomalies or suspicious stuff which could lead you to a vulnerability. By discovering the application, you are essentially understanding the attack surface. The bigger your attack surface is, the higher your chances are that you find something. So let's recap what we found out so far. So we learned a lot about technologies. It uses the Encore CMS system with the Barhub theme. It uses PHP and it runs on Apache web server. We know the version information for this as well. It also uses MySQL and runs on Ubuntu. We also learned a lot about the features of the website. It's generally a pretty small website. The public part is very small. You can only search, so that's your only input field. And then otherwise you can just browse the posts which were posted. But there is a bigger admin interface where there is a login, there's a forgotten password feature, and in the admin interface you can do much more. there were lots of input fields which you can test later. You can create posts, you can create pages, you can create categories, you can add extensions like site variables or site metadata. You can add new users, that's really important, and or change the current ones. And of course, there's a logout. So more or less, that's your attack surface for this application. The technologies and the features of the application, because these are the things what you can attack during an assessment. All right, that's basically the application discovery. As I said, the goal is to understand the application. This is a really small application. In some cases, the application is so big and so complex that it's impossible that you will understand everything. In some cases, it also needs some kinds of special skills, like understanding the topic, like finance, or I don't know if it's a medical application, then you need to know what it is about, etc. So it always depends on the application, but we are lucky because this one is pretty small, so it was easy to go through in a few minutes. In the next section, we will continue with the automated discovery. So I recommend you to play a little bit more with the application, look at the requests, look at the responses. If you find out something new, what we didn't talk about, then post it in the comments below so that everybody else sees it. Otherwise, I will see you in the next lecture. Bye.
The Death Star does have a strong defense mechanism.